In our very first story, Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Koku Anyidoho, is in police custody for comments which government says are treasonable. This was after Mr. Anyidoho, in an interview on an Accra-based radio station, said that President Nana Akufo-Addo would be overthrown.
Ultimately, they will introduce that thing. President Nano also can. So eventually, I'm telling you, somebody should tell Nana Akufo-Addo. Master, history has a very interesting way of repeating itself. On the 13th of January 1972, a certain Colonel Ignatius Kutu Achampo removed, led an insurrection, led a movement that removed the Progress Party from power. Buzia was the Prime Minister, Akufo-Addo's father was the ceremonial president. Somebody should tell Nana Akufo-Addo that history has an interesting way of repeating itself. I'm telling you, history has a very interesting way. Oh, Master, history has an interesting way of repeating itself. Because, President,
General, they are working very serious about.
Oh, thank you, Captain. There will be a civil revolt. There will be a people's movement. Now President Mahama will power. Now President Mahama will power. Let my vote count for me, occupy Ghana, for mother. Only got to move to President Mahama Adieso.
But Uma reference to Ignatius Kutu. Oh, Joshua Kambadia. Uma reference to Ignatius Kutu Achampo. Say Obabe 2 a year Akufo-Addo papa. And it's busier. Say history will repeat itself. And no name civil revoke. And no name civil revoke. General Patrol, one day. I say, yay.
There will be a civilian coup d'etat. There will be a social revolution. We are starting on Wednesday. The movement is starting on Wednesday.
Civilian coup d'etat.
So those were the comments by the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress. Now the police moved in on him at the Accra International Press Center where the party was having a news conference to react to the controversial Ghana-US military cooperation agreement. And the arrest was picked up by Joy News cameras that were covering the event. Here's a report capturing Joy News' interaction with Mr. Anyidoho shortly before his arrest and how he was led to the CID headquarters.
Mr. Anyidoho was the MC for the press conference that was taking place at the press center to announce the decision by his party to join other groups to stage a protest. I engaged him shortly after the event on whether he thinks his comments about a possible coup was appropriate.
This is a press conference on tomorrow's activity. You want to talk about that? We'll talk about that. Don't come and waste my time with useless questions. Go listen to the clip again.
He was shortly after accosted by the CID officers. What exactly are they saying? What's the issue? What have they told you?
I don't know. They said I don't know what the charge is.
Is it an invitation or arrest? No. That we are asking. If it's an invitation, then you can go. Come.
Please, no. Exactly.
No. I'm coming. No. It's an arrest. For what? Arrest. For what?
Where's the arrest?
What has he committed? If he has been arrested, then she was an arrest warrant. Because the law abiding citizen.
The refusal by Mr. Anyidoho, aided by party supporters, led the officers to lock the main gate of the press center. So what is happening here at the press center is that you have some officers from the CID. So this is one of them, the gentleman just in the jeans and the blue top. They are trying to block the exit here because they have simply refused to move with them. We have a vehicle just arriving here. Has the inscription Operation Calm Life. The officers have just arrived. They are simply saying that he is under arrest and there is no way they are going to allow him to leave the premises of the press center. So this is the police vehicle here. You can see GP 4649. fine. So come this way. You have over here the police officers, increased police presence here now at the International Press Center. The party is simply saying they want to see that arrest warrant. The arrest warrant is not available, but we have been told that they are not going to allow him live here. We heard Mr. Mona say that they intend to go over to the office of the CID to hand over. I'm getting a bit closer to the vehicle where Mr. He is in. Come closer. Let's get a word from the party quickly. Chairman Portofi is here. Excuse me, sir. Quickly, I just want to pick.
It's not right. It's not right that we are in a press conference and then the policeman arrived. They said they are arresting the general secretary of our party. How can they do that? It's not right. But they cannot scare anybody. That one they should know. That's why I say I'm taking him there. Let's go.
So you are going with him right now? To
yes, to the headquarters.
And then what next?
We'll go and listen to them. They say they want him. Yes, he works for us. So don't worry, we'll go.
So is he under arrest? What is the situation? Is he under arrest? So is he under arrest?
And bro, we are not ready to talk to you right now. We are doing our work.
Yes, the work we want to know about what exactly you are doing now. Mr. Anyidoho was then led out of the press center. He was accompanied by NDC General Secretary Johnson Esiedu Nketia and PNC Chairman Bernard Mona. Continues here, heading towards the CID headquarters. Mr. Kweku Anyidoho has been accompanied by members of the National Democratic Congress. So this is the situation here on the streets leading to the CID headquarters. Okay. On arrival at the police headquarters, he was led in by the officers. NDC General Secretary Johnson Esiedu Nketia and later Chairman Kofi Portofi also made their way into the CID office. Those who had accompanied him for the press center had no intentions of moving an inch.
Well, the arrest drew a mob of sympathizers of the opposition NDC to the street in front of the police CID headquarters. Now, some NDC bigwigs, including the former National Health Insurance Authority Chief Executive Sylvester Mensah, who joined the crowd, have condemned the arrest of the Deputy General Secretary.
Kweku Anyidoho had made a statement to this effect. I think that we are trying to just impugn some negativity into the statement that he has made. Indeed, every Ghanaian would want to, as it were, show dissatisfaction with anything that has to do with a military coup. Kweku Anyidoho made reference to a civilian revolt. I guess he used the word coup as an adjective to give meaning to how severe the feelings are. To just pick on that and assume that Kweku Anyidoho is planning a coup and to say that it is treasonable is a little off the mark. Nobody announces a coup. Coups are never announced in advance. And so we need to be tolerant in dealing with issues of this nature. But I guess that if one makes reference to what has happened in the past, that's a historical fact that one is making reference to. It is the deduction that one is making from that historical fact that becomes a basis for making some judgment on what the statement is. But I guess that this thing is being carried too far. It is being overstretched.
What I want more Ghanaians to understand is that in some situations when we politicians find ourselves in our static mood, we tend to say certain things that when our attention is drawn to it, we may show remorse and even render an unqualified apology if what we said had some implications that will not augur well for us. And that I would have wished that the director of CID could have invited Kweku over a tea and then take him through what some of the aspects of what he said could mean. And for that matter, he is not expected to act in that manner. I believe that in a democracy that is maturing, in a democracy that is maturing, what the citizens would love to see from law enforcement agencies is that they should always apply preventive mechanism than to show maturism and Rambo style like of taking arrest or having an encounter with some offending Ghanaians.
Slavery now on pass our media kotumo. Say ya nyai kwa kwanyi do ha. Ya beda ha na chira ya to aso akoye dem.
All right, so that was the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress indicating that if the Deputy General Secretary wasn't released, the supporters were going to keep vigil until overnight, until the demonstration which they've planned tomorrow. Now, the governing New Patriotic Party has condemned the comments by the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. The NPP statement was signed by the National Youth Organizer, Sami Wuku, and he essentially says it has come to the notice of the New Patriotic Party that the Deputy General Secretary of the opposition National Democratic Congress, Koku Anyidoho, is inciting Ghanaians to revolt against the government of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The NDC loose talker in an interview with the crowd-based Happy FM was emphatic that the nationwide demonstration under the sole sponsorship of his party and being led by the Ghana First Patriotic Front, GFPF, is the beginning of activities to stage a coup d'etat against the NPP government, which was democratically elected in 2016. Now it continues. The NPP as a party, unreservedly condemns this reckless, amateurish, and misguided statement from Mr. Anyidoho, especially judging from his background as a former presidential spokesperson for former President John Evans Sotto-Mills, who was hailed by all as a peace-loving personality. We call on the security agencies to be on the alert because there is no smoke without fire. The police should invite Mr. Anyidoho over his treasonable comments and inciting Ghanaians to forcibly remove a democratically elected government. It continues. We call on all Ghanaians to condemn this reckless statement of Mr. Anyidoho because 25 years of uninterrupted democratic rule under the Fourth Republic did not come cheap. We must guard our democracy jealously and must not allow any disappointed and peeved politician feeling the pinch of being in opposition to take our destiny for granted. The security network must be on high alert on March 28, since the NDC is bent on using the demonstration to destabilize the country. We will resist any attempt by the opposition NDC to make Ghana ungovernable. The rule of law must work and everyone must respect the law. Ghanaians voted massively for President Akufo-Addo to rule for 4 years, and we must respect that. If the NDC has alternative views on how this nation should be governed, there are constitutional avenues for doing so, other than inciting the citizenry to a coup d'etat. Anyone who will dare disturb the enviable peace and order in Ghana will be met squarely. And Ghana First, it concludes, and is signed by Sami Wuku, the National Youth Organizer of the New Patriotic Party. Now, government has also issued a statement describing the comments by the Deputy General Secretary of the opposition NDC as treasonable. Information Minister Mustafa Hamid, who signed the statement, said government found it disturbing that the NDC is not condemning the act, and that's the statement. It says government's attention has been drawn to the treasonable comments made by the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Koku Anyidoho, to the effect that the government of President Akufo-Addo will be overthrown. Government also takes note of the statement made by the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, that dissociates the party from Koku Anyidoho's statement. Government is, however, concerned that the NDC does not condemn the treasonable comments of Anyidoho. We find the NDC's reluctance to condemn Anyidoho as particularly disturbing because Anyidoho alleges that the coup d'etat is starting on Wednesday, and we know that the demonstration on Wednesday has a full endorsement of the NDC. It is therefore important that the NDC demonstrates its commitment to democratic governance by showing that the Wednesday demonstration is not a smokescreen for fomenting insurrection, as Anyidoho claims. We therefore call on the NDC to show its commitment to democratic governance by condemning unreservedly the treasonable comments of its Deputy General Secretary. Government assures the citizen that it will take appropriate steps within the bounds of law to protect the security of the state. And this statement is signed by Mustafa Abdul Hamid, who's the Information Minister. Now, in the last hour, we know that a team of heavily armed police officers have been to the residence of Kwaku Anyedoho. Joy News' Joseph Opoku Gakpo pitched camp there and joins us with what he saw. Apparently, we do not have Joseph right now, but there you can see an image or images of home of Kwaku Anyedoho. That's a visual of Kwaku Anyedoho's residence, and we actually have Joseph Opoku Gakpo telling us earlier how the police went in there, heavily armed policemen. They went with the police dispatch rider who led them to the scene. They stayed in there for a number of, for quite a while, and they eventually emerged. And they went together with Kwaku Anyedoho and his lawyer, and they stayed in there, as I indicated, for a while. Apparently it was supposed to be a search. We do not know what they were looking for, but eventually the search ended and they left the house. All right, so we're going back to the police headquarters and to Kwesi Parker Wilson, who's standing by. Hello, Kwesi, what can you tell us? We know that the sympathizers of the National Democratic Congress had indicated that they were going to stay there overnight. Do we still have people converged there? Hello, Kwesi, if you can hear me, what's happening where you are?
Well, Israel, what's happened is that the police, they have managed to disperse the crowd, the supporters of the NDC who had gathered here a while ago. Now, according to the police, they were using minimal force to disperse them. Even before that, what happened was that the supporters of the NDC had barricaded the road. If you are driving from Osirianabat heading towards Circle, there was a huge traffic, basically because the supporters of the NDC had gotten onto the road to stop the vehicles from Osirianabat heading towards Circle. And the police at the time had wanted to dialogue with them to let them know that what they are doing is wrong. Yes, they can register their protest. They can be at the CID headquarters to solidarize with Kwaku Anyedoho, but they cannot be on the street, and so they need to move away from there. Unfortunately, what happened was that the supporters started pelting stones at the police, and so the police had to quickly react to disperse the supporters from the street. And so they started with this rubber gunshot. We had rubber gunshots and also tear gas as well within the process. So the supporters started running. In fact, they took to their heels, and the police also had to chase them. They were running after. They gave them a hot chase. Some of them were arrested in the process. Others were able or managed to escape as well. So as I speak to you at the moment, the CID headquarters is peaceful, and a large number of policemen are still present here, ensuring that they maintain law and order. But I can say that I've seen quite a number of NDC supporters around still. Kofi Adams is still around. The Joshua Kamba is also still around. They are just hanging around the walls of the CID headquarters. And I gather the information that they are trying to have a conversation with the police officials, the top officials of the police service. And again, they have mentioned that they are not leaving. They are going to spend the night here because they want the release, or they are demanding the release of Kwaku Anyedoho, who has been picked up by the CID, as some have alleged that basically because of his comment perceived or deemed to be in bad taste, and that is why the police quickly picked him at the press center earlier today. So this is what is happening here at the CID headquarters, Israel.
Now, Kwesi, we know that earlier Kwaku Anyedoho was sent to his residence in the company of some police officers. We're learning that he was returned to the police headquarters. Can you confirm that?
Okay, so the information I have picked on the ground is that he's back. Then he's in one of the facilities. I mean, they are holding him there. He's there. They've not spoken to him yet. They've not attended to him yet. But he is there. So we know, I can confirm to you from sources within the police service that he's been brought back. He is here at the CID headquarters. As to when they will interrogate him, we are not too sure when they will do that, but we can confirm that he has brought back to the CID headquarters.
All right, thank you very much, Kwesi Parker-Wilson. And as you heard him indicate earlier, so the police have managed to, as much as possible, move the sympathizers of the National Democratic Congress who have converged at the police CID headquarters, insisting or demanding that they wanted the release of Kwaku Anyidoho, the Deputy General Secretary of the party. We're told that they have been moved quite a distance, but we're learning that they haven't completely left the vicinity of the police headquarters CID. Now, we also have the statement coming in from the police, and that has to do with the demonstration, the planned demonstration by the party, the NDC, and that party, the demonstration actually arranged by the Ghana First Patriotic Front, and this is what the police is saying in that statement. I'm going to share that with you. The Accra Region Police Command has outlined a comprehensive security arrangement for an intended demonstration by Ghana First Patriotic Front scheduled for Wednesday, March 20, 2018. As agreed, the demonstration will start from Obrasport through to the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, to Friday School Traffic Light, to TUC, Yoko, and Enna Hart Park. All individuals, groups, and supporters who have expressed interest to join the Ghana First Patriotic Front are entreated to stick to the approved routes agreed by the two parties. No splinter demonstrations or acts intended to disrupt the peaceful conduct of the demonstration will be tolerated. Nevertheless, the public is assured of maximum security during the special event, and this is signed by the Efia Tenge, Assistant Superintendent of Police Public Affairs Unit. All right, so you're watching Joy News Prime. We're going to be taking a break, but just by way of recap, we know that hundreds of supporters of the National Democratic Congress massed up at the headquarters of Police CID over the detention of the party's Deputy General Secretary Kwaku Anyidoho. And Kwaku Anyidoho was arrested for what government describes as treasonable comments. The NDC has condemned the arrest. The MPP is worried that the NDC has failed to condemn the comments by the NDC Deputy General Secretary. The police had meanwhile given the go-ahead for the planned demonstration on Wednesday to protest government's defense agreement with the United States. So we're taking a break right now, but still ahead we have business news coming up. And in business news, we're learning that the directors of UT, the defunct UT and Capital banks are to appear before Yoko. Emmanuel Abwaji-Yafi will be joining us with business in a bit.
Good evening to you. Time now for business. Now, Deputy Energy Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam is reassuring the effects of the second shutdown of the FPSO Kwame Nkrumah in May this year will have minimum effects on power generation. Dr. Adam disclosed this in an interview after a working tour of the FPSO on the Jubilee Field offshore Takoradi. He was accompanied by some key stakeholders of the oil and gas value chain, including representatives from the Ministry of Energy, the VRA, GRADECO, Ghana Gas, and the GNPC. Dr. Amin Adam praised Tullow for the quality of maintenance work done so far on the vessel during the first shutdown period. He was also happy with the International Oil Company for utilizing the services of local welders for maintaining the FPSO.
It's been a very fruitful working visit, which provided opportunity for us as the main partners to the Tullow Group. And in this case, we are represented by the Ministry of Energy, our power sector agencies, VRA, GRADECO, but we also have GNPC and Ghana Gas. These are all important stakeholders, agencies that are concerned about how we manage our resources, and especially in a way that does not cause adverse effect to the development of our country. As you know, the tariff challenge has been a major challenge for our country. And we have gone to see the kind of work going on there. I can say that we are impressed about the level of work, the quality of work done there. And I can report to you, for instance, that the welding that is, being done under the project, being done by Ghanaians, our own Ghanaians. That's a demonstration of how Tullow Ghana has come far as far as acceleration in local content and local participation is concerned. As far as the shutdown is concerned, the second one is what we are currently concerned about. But what we have seen, and from what brief we got from our partners, the effect of that shutdown on power generation will not be much. And therefore, I would like to inform Ghanaians that there is no cause for alarm. The previous shutdown had effect because even though gas was available from 10, Ghana Gas was going through maintenance, and therefore we had shortage of gas. That compelled VRA to use other means, including buying more crude oil to be able to address the power shortfall we're going to experience from the shortage of gas. This time around, we will not have that problem because Ghana Gas is operating, and therefore 10 is going to give us gas. We understand 10 will give us 60 million standard cubic feet a day. And so if we have been able to manage the shutdown when Ghana Gas was not operating, when there was no gas production because of the shutdown, I don't think Ghanaians should not believe us. I don't think Ghanaians should lose any trust in our ability to even manage whatever little effect may arise from this forthcoming shutdown in May.
And away from that, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, YOCO, has summoned directors of the collapsed UT and Capital banks to answer questions on their roles in the collapse of the two banks. The summons follow damning findings of an investigative report on the collapse of the two banks, which was submitted to the Bank of Ghana. Reports say the directors of the UT Bank will appear before Acting Executive Director of YOCO at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, while the directors of Capital Bank will also appear on Wednesday, April 4, 2018. The Bank of Ghana in August last year revoked the licenses of UT Bank and Capital Bank due to severe impairment of their capital. Joining me right now in the studio to take a look at this particular issue and to delve into it further is George Wiafe. Now, George, how did we get here in the first place?
Well, we got here because the Bank of Ghana last year decided to withdraw the licenses of these two commercial banks. Why? They failed to meet certain regulatory requirements, and it got to a stage where the Bank of Ghana thought that they had to step in and take this action to contain more of what they call the contagion effect, to prevent the crisis that these banks are going through to spread to affect other commercial banks in the country. They've been back and forth. These banks have gone down. GCB was appointed to take over some selective or good assets of these two commercial banks. Don't forget, PwC, or PricewaterhouseCoopers, the accounting firm, was also selected to help with the process. They are actually in the process of selling the assets of these two commercial banks to try and use part of it to defray the cost of this whole liquidation process. We understand the government of Ghana is planning to issue a bond also, about 2 billion cedis or so, to help deal with the cost of the holes that has brought in GCB's books as a result of the money that they are currently putting in place to help address the situation. So that's where we've gotten to. Apparently, we are now picking up from Daily Graphic that there was an investigation that was conducted into these developments, and YOCO has presented some report to Bank of Ghana. It looks like they've asked them to go ahead and do what you have to do, and that is why these directors are being asked to report to YOCO, or the Economic and Organized Crime, to answer some questions with respect to what the findings of this report are saying.
Now, before the bank collapsed, I mean, we heard that they had issues with their capital or corporate governance situation. Now, is it the reason that they are going to answer questions based on this?
I mean, if you should clearly follow from these reports coming out from Graphic, what we understand is that it was because of some report that YOCO carried out on the roles that they played. So if it's more of negligence, if it's more of misappropriation of funds and all those things, maybe that's why they are coming in. Why is EOCO and all these institutions coming at this time? It's all because it looks like the taxpayer has to come in or came in trying to support the situation. And that is why it looks like all these external organizations are coming in to support the Bank of Ghana to ensure that if, for instance, your indiscretion caused the bank's collapse, then maybe you have to pay for that. And maybe that's what they are trying to do by bringing these directors to the office and ask them questions and all those things, and whether indeed they can proceed with calls for prosecution and all the rest.
Well, recently we spoke to Prince Kofi Amwabeng, who stated that he would bounce back to business or to banking. Would this particular situation mar his chances in any way?
No, I mean, as said now, none of these directors have been charged. And the Bank of Ghana, under their laws also, they have the right to actually bar somebody from actually becoming a director of any commercial bank in the country. Okay. As we speak right now, we haven't seen the Bank of Ghana, we haven't heard from the Bank of Ghana coming out with any statement or comment to suggest that. When the governor was asked at the Monetary Policy Committee meeting recently about what will happen to these directors, he was a little bit silent on that. So it's still not clear what actions they are going to take on these directors, as to whether they are going to restrict them from holding any office in the commercial banking space or not. And it might be that his comment was that he actually, Amwabeng said that he acknowledges that he made some mistakes, but he's working on them to come back. It might be early days yet to see what is going to happen to him and whether, if any charge is put on him or placed on him, he might not be able to hold any directorship role in the financial space in the country.
Many thanks for your time,
Thank
George,
you so much, Jaffe.
And we shall be closely monitoring the situation to bring you further updates on the development. Away from that, Airtel Tigo says it will consider acquiring a 5G spectrum as a way of ensuring quality service to Ghanaian customers as the global trend in communication evolves. The disclosure was made by the chief executive of Airtel Tigo, Roshi Motman, who was briefing journalists on the migration of its financial service transactions onto a single platform. This is Ebenezer's report.
According to CEO of Airtel Tigo, Roshi Motman, the company has been working to integrate and harmonize various platforms from network quality, customer service to mobile financial services, among others. Answering questions from journalists after a briefing session, the Airtel Tigo boss, Roshi Motman, noted the communication space is moving towards a bigger spectrum, and as a company, 5G will be the best way to go.
We're also looking at 5G because in reality it's time for 5G in the world and not really 4G. So it's a bit sad that in Ghana the situation is as it is. But for sure, as a telecom operator, you would want to invest in 4G and you would want to start investing in 5G, and that's what we are looking at. Both our groups, we have Bharti Airtel Group and Millicom Group that are behind this venture, are both investing in 5G, and we are now bringing on board some experts to really have a look at how this could be positioned in this market.
She also commented on the company's integration process.
We have invested in one platform, so it's an integration of IT and platforms. We have invested in a platform called Conviva. We believe that this is the right platform for the future. We believe that it's one of the most secure and safe platforms available in the world. And we believe that this is the platform that can also provide us with the opportunities that we need in order to be able to deliver the innovations that our customers are expecting for the future. The integration of Airtel and Tigo is also going to lead to some other points except for the platform, which is the real customer benefits. And what we can say is that we want to make it very, very easy for our customers to use Airtel Tigo Money.
On the company's mobile money platform, the director in charge of Airtel Tigo Money, Edmond Bewa, has been explaining the new Airtel Tigo Money platform.
That's all we have for you by way of business. Many thanks for joining me. My name is Emmanuel Boaji. Have a good evening.
Right, so we're returning to our top story on the arrest of the Deputy General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, Kwaku Anyedo. Now, he was arrested over an interview he granted an Accra-based radio station where he said that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will be overthrown. Now, he has been in the custody of the police at the police CID. We know that the police have been to his home or sent him to his home where apparently there was a search. Now, we're going back to the police CID headquarters where we have on standby Kwesi Parker Wilson. We're going there because we're learning that there's still a crowd of sympathizers of the National Democratic Congress who are on the ground, and they have already indicated that they don't intend to move away from the place unless the Deputy General Secretary is handed over. Now, Kwesi Parker Wilson, what can you report right now?
Our supporters to be here.
Oh, the police has dispersed them.
That is why, no, intentionally they are doing it. Intentionally they are doing it.
So you are calling them
back? We were inside. Myself, a man, a police officer, used his hand to push me that we should go out. I asked him, don't we have the right to be here as Ghanaians? It's the work of the president. Whatever happens here today or whatever is happening is the work of Akufo-Addo. The president of the Republic of Ghana is carrying Ghana today.
Well, we cannot substantiate the allegations, though, but clearly, what is happening is that the NDC are not ready to leave here. They are still demanding for the release of Kwaku Anyedo clearly. So the lawyers, as we have gathered, are still in, trying to have a conversation or jojo with the CID or the police officials to bail Kwaku Anyedo. But they are saying that until then, they are going to be here and they are ready to spend their nights here. Though the police have made efforts to disperse them, they are going to remain resolute and determined to ensure that their Deputy General Secretary is being released by the police before they leave here. So we will monitor the situation and bring you updates on what happened. Yes, and City also joined. City is the national youth organizer of the opposition NDC. Also joined. I'm sure. City, you are inside, right?
Yeah, I was inside, but the situation inside is not a palatable one because what is happening right now, they are sacking almost every party official who is inside.
No, they are sacking almost every party official. Why? Did you demand for reason?
We don't know why they are doing that. We don't know why they are doing that. It seems they are being instructed somewhere, and they are taking orders directly from the Flagstaff House. And so,
no, we don't know that for sure.
Well, I'm telling you what I know because I am inside. I am telling you what I know, and everything I'm saying here, I'm taking credit for it. I'm telling you that they are taking instructions from the Flagstaff House. They are not ready to release Kwaku Anyedo today, and they will not release him tomorrow. And we, my brother, what has he done? What reason has he caused? We are in this country. People said worse things than that. Don't tell me it's reason issues. We are in this country. Look, the security apparatus should be able to have advanced information on people, on individuals. When somebody opens his mouth to say there will be coup d'etat, that's the basis for you to go and arrest him. I mean, that means we have a stupid security force.
But Siri, one doesn't know the premise upon which Kwaku said that.
Look,
you don't know why he said that.
Let me tell you something. If you are an expert when it comes to security, somebody wants to lead a coup, he doesn't need to announce it. He doesn't need to announce it if he wants to make a coup. I believe Nana Akufo-Addo knows that he's not performing and he feels coup is imminent. And that is why he's trying to use it to cajole us. But we are not afraid.
Are you reiterating the words of Kwaku Anyedo that coup is imminent?
No, but that is exactly...
You also suggested to say that there is a possible...
Why are they afraid? Why are they afraid? Because this man is just saying something.
So you are also threatening the coup d'etat?
No, let me tell you that. What I'm saying is that Nana Akufo-Addo feels that coup is imminent. That's why he's afraid.
And see
you understand? You understand? So it is unfortunate what is happening in this country.
The order is coming from
you understand? They are taking the orders from the Flagstaff, and we cannot sit down for this thing to happen. My brother, I am telling you that they are trying to make this country ungovernable, and we as NDC members will help them to make it ungovernable.
So what are the lawyers and party officials going to do at the moment?
Well, you see, this situation is not about lawyers. It's a political situation, and it must need political response, and that is the response we are giving to them. It is not about lawyers. Unless we are able to add our political tone to it, we cannot get solutions from it. And that is why we are saying that, look, we are going to stay here until he is released. If not, we are going to cause commotions.
You're going to cause confusion. What
is happening is not right.
But I want to know the commotion you're talking about. What are you going to do? Are you going to storm the CIA?
How people are charged. You could see how people are charged. They are pushing us to the limits.
You are inciting your people to attack the police.
They are even more angry than me. They are annoyed more than me.
NDC people here.
So please, we are saying that they should release him now, or there will be problem as we move along. We don't know.
Because they are saying
why. So
they are saying that the instruction from above.
Right.
NDC, MPP police or Ghana police.
Right. We understand that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I mean the NDC clearly are saying that they are resolute. I mean they are determined to still be here to ensure that Koku Ahindo is released. If not, they are going to cause commotion, and this is the words from the national youth organizer of the party, Sidi Abubakar, that the people are angry, the people are charged, and they want their deputy general secretary released. If the police fails to do that, well, they're going to cause chaos. I don't understand why. The meaning of that, but he clearly said that that's what is going to happen. And again, they have indicated that they are not leaving the premises or the CID headquarters. So we are still monitoring the situation. And as I've mentioned earlier, the Koku Ahindo, the CID says they're not going to release him. And so the lawyers are not happy. Top officials of the party are not happy. They are joining with the police to ensure that they release Koku Ahindo. So just as your most reliable news channel join us, and so we'll bring you the latest updates and the development on this matter.
All right, thank you very much, Kwesi Parker-Wilson. Kwesi Parker-Wilson was joining us from the frontage of the police CID headquarters here in Accra. Now, joining us on phone is Kwejo Appiagyei, a senior lecturer at the Ghana School of Law of the University of Ghana, and we're here, or we're having to talk about this because of the comments made by the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Koku Ahindo, which you would want to think that there's freedom of speech, and so he spoke his mind. But apparently, he said some things that government says are treasonable. These are some of the comments. Some of the things that he said is on January 13, 1972, a certain Colonel Ignatius Kutu Acheampong led a movement that removed the Progress Party from power. Buzia was the prime minister, and Akufo-Addo's father was the ceremonial president. Somebody should tell Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo that history has a very interesting way of repeating itself. There will be a civil revolt, Mr. Ahindo reported. Now, thank you for making time to join us. What do you make of these comments?
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry, the line is very faint, but I'm trying to understand you saying you want my comments or reaction on the statement by Mr. Koku Ahindo. Am I right?
Yes, which some would say he was just speaking his mind.
Well, we can talk about it in the context of freedom of expression. And this is a right which is guaranteed to us in our own constitution and in other international treaties that Ghana is a party to. And it simply recognizes the right or the freedom to make opinions and receive and impact, disseminate such opinions. And so in that context, Mr. Ahindo certainly has his right to do that. But that right goes with some responsibilities. It is specifically stated, for example, that it should not jeopardize national security. And so in that context, I think we can say that his statement might have gone a little bit too far, and it can fall into the realm of treason because he's trying to incite an overthrow of a regime or to say something that is prejudicial to a particular head of state or a particular senior government official. So in that context, you can say that he might have gone a bit too far. But I think that at the end of the day, we have to leave it to the judgment of the police. The police has a right to, one of their functions is to ensure that there is national peace and security. So in that respect, the police has a right to intervene by calling Mr. Nidoho for questioning to know the exact motive and whether he has a wherewithal to be able to accomplish any wrong based on the statement he made. And so in that context, I think it is perfectly within the right of the police to cause his arrest or to invite him for interrogation and to see if that possibility is there. But I think what we are seeing now is that the whole case has been politicized. The NDC is making its own statement, trying to determine that the person is not wrong. The NPP on the other hand is saying that the person is wrong. So the principle of presumption of innocence before the person's case is determined has been compromised here. And so we see both sides committing some wrong here. But the police is also enjoined to make sure that they do a speedy investigation and come to some conclusion, possibly grant the person bail. As it is now, it's become too politicized, and it's rather causing more tension and panic within the system.
Right.
And so
as far as you're concerned, if the police is able to quickly establish whether he has what it takes to, cause a coup d'etat or cause a civil insurrection, they should let him go.
They should.
You're saying that if the police is able to establish whether or not he has the wherewithal to cause that coup d'etat that he's talking about, they should just let him go. That is, if they find out that he doesn't have what it takes.
Oh, then they should let him free, because in that context, he's just exercising his freedom of expression. And so it is about the freedom of expression crosses the line to affect national security, for example.
Would you say that he has crossed the line?
At this point, it's difficult to tell. And personally, I think that what he said could institute incitement, but in my opinion, it doesn't go far enough to constitute an incitement to cause the overthrow of a regime.
No, but when he says that history has a way of repeating itself, and he makes reference to the overthrow of General Setting Kutu Acheampong removing the Progress Party from power, you're essentially drawing on history and saying that you're anticipating that to happen. That's
right. That is true. But in another breath, I think I heard him also saying that he was making reference to similar statements made by some NGOs or civil society organizations when President Mahama was in power, that he was also to cause his overthrow. And so in that respect, I see that he's trying to conclude that he is not talking about a violent overthrow or an unconstitutional means of overthrow. I think that we have to look at the political context. If he had said that 20 years ago, it could have been interpreted differently from the current political dispensation or regime we are in, where it is even the totality of the population. CDD did some survey not long ago, which indicated that about 75% or so of Ghanaians are against a military regime or changing government through such means. So I think that if you look at that political context, the fact that Ghana is also recognized as a leading democratic state in Africa, and the way the AU and the ECOWAS abhors or frowns on unconstitutional changes in government, if you take that into account, I'm tempted to come to the conclusion that that is not where he was alluding to. And therefore, in that respect, to ensure that things return to normal as quickly as possible, to limit any political tension, he shouldn't be seen as attempting to or inciting people to overthrow the constitutional elected regime.
All right, thank you very much, Kwadwo Appiagyei Etua. He's a senior lecturer at the Ghana School of Law at the University of Ghana. And, just news just in fact, some breaking news coming through right now is that the Deputy General Secretary of the National Opposition, National Democratic Congress, Kokou Anyi-Daho, has been formally charged with treason. We're going over to the police CID headquarters, where Kwesi Parker-Wilson is standing by. Hello, Kwesi, can you confirm this piece of news for us? Hello, Kwesi Parker-Wilson. If you can hear me, I'd like you to update us with the news that's just coming through that the Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Kwaku Anyi-Doho, has been charged with treason. All right, we're having a bit of a challenge reaching Kwesi Parker-Wilson now, but we will get to him in a bit. Let's take a quick break. We're staying with this story because the breaking news that's just coming through is that Kwaku Anyi-Doho, who's the Deputy General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, has been formally charged with treason. Now, this is the story that has been quite fluid all through the day. Earlier in the day, we know that he was picked up by the police. Let's go over now to Kwesi Parker-Wilson. Hello, Kwesi. Can you confirm this bit of news for us? Hello, Kwesi. Bring us up to date with the very latest from the police CID headquarters. All right, we'll take a break. We will be back with this story. Don't go anywhere. Right, just by way of recap, the breaking news that's reaching us right now is that the Deputy General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress, Kwaku Anyi-Doho, has been charged with treason. We've been told that he's been moved to another location. He's no longer at the police CID headquarters. He's been kept elsewhere. We don't know where he's been kept, but we also heard the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress rallying the members or the supporters of the party to make time and gather and converge on Wednesday for the demonstration that they have planned against the Defense Cooperation Agreement between Ghana and the U.S. Now, in other news, the homicide unit of the Ghana Police Service has been tasked to investigate circumstances leading to the death of a 25-year-old Nigerian at Oyarifa here in Accra. Residents and eyewitnesses say the unarmed man was shot in the head at close range as he fled his residence during a police operation last Friday. Though the police have confirmed the operation, they deny there were gunshots. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
The blood-stained wooden board where the deceased died was still at the scene on Monday. Eyewitnesses recount how blood was oozing from the head wound of the victim when his body was discovered.
We are told by some of the residents here that the deceased was actually shot by the police officer just some distance away from where I am standing. He crawled in pain from that point to this place before he landed on a heap of sand about 50 meters away from where I am standing.
One of the residents who pleaded anonymity said he witnessed the shooting.
That was Friday early morning. I was here when the police people came around to give warning shots. Then some of the boys started running. Police, 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 police. Not knowing there is another policeman standing behind the back. So when the fell guard jumped, the fence wall, then the other one, the policeman ran. He ran to follow him. So when he followed him for some place beyond, he just shot the guy.
Director of Public Affairs of the Ghana Police Service, DSP Sheila Beye Bachman, confirmed there was an operation at Oyarifa last week Friday.
The investigation also showed that although policemen were there earlier in the morning to arrest some people on suspicion, there was no shooting. That is the information available to us.
Okay, DSP, you say that information that you have from the officers who went on operation was that there was no shooting at all?
That is the information available to me.
But a 60-year-old man who shares a wall with the deceased says the officers shot into his building twice in an attempt to stop the deceased from escaping arrest. He showed us one of the holes where the bullet was lodged as well as the bullet casing.
I heard gunshot. Pay, all around our house. So one of my granddaughter came and called me. So I came out. So immediately I entered my hall and I saw a policeman holding gun. He entered my hall. What are they? I said, who people? No one is here. I had another gun around my this thing. Pay. The short guns in my wall and my this thing. Porch. So my design box broke. You see, if you go there, you see.
The assemblyman for the Oyarifa Taiman electoral area says he's deeply appalled by the incident and wants the Inspector General of Police to investigate the matter.
According to the concerned citizens in the community, some of them told me that one of the police officers was chasing one guy, the Nigerian guy, even close to the guy. But instead of the police officer to shout and maybe need an assistant to arrest the guy, he rather shot the guy head. They have to truly investigate this very case.
The Director of Public Affairs, DSP Shilabeye Bakman, says the IGP has ordered the investigation and that anyone found culpable will be brought to book.
IGP is very much interested in the results of this investigation so that whoever is involved, whether it's a police officer or it's a civilian,